But what's keeping them from keep coming back, or what's getting them to keep coming back day in and day out, is something else, right? And that's what's really interesting here. People who are not Korean are getting introduced to this content. Once they see it, there's something that's appealing, that's universally appealing to them, and get them to keep coming back. And that's where I think the future really lies for the Hallyu wave, right? If Korean dramas can really focus on those universal aspects that make it so great and so appealing to the rest of the world, I think that there's a good chance that they have a long and successful kind of a presence here in the States and everywhere else in the world. So let me tell you about some of the observations that I've learned at DramaFever that could really help see where the next trend of Korean dramas is going to be. So one of the interesting dynamics that international content owners are seeing is that there's a real money to be made overseas. Now, when we first got the Korean catalog in 2009, SBS and these NBC and these Korean content owners thought that, this content in the US is only going to be seen by Korean Americans. It's going to be very incremental revenue to their bottom line. But they're starting to see that, as more and more people watch, over 8 million people watch, that there's that it's adding significant amount of revenue to their investments. And so there's a really interesting dynamic that's going on here, right? Where, Korean domestic market is about 50 million people. Now, internationally, it's much bigger than that. In the US, that's 7 times that. So what happens when the number of international fans actually surpass the number of domestic fans? Now, these content owners may start thinking, okay, we need to shoot more overseas, which is what we're seeing with airs. And I wouldn't be surprised if they start shooting in Latin America, where it's very hot right now. Maybe start having some characters speak in Spanish instead of English. There's going to be an interesting dynamic where Korean dramas are going to be catering to a lot of these international audiences, whereas in the past, there was none of that. Right? And then a second point here, which is also really interesting, is that the number of views on any given night on DramaFever channel equals that of cable channels, and much more than some of the multicultural, multi-ethnic cable channels on air right now. And so, you can see that there's a growing kind of a supply and demand that exists outside of the worlds that we used to know, right? Which is TV only, in language, in your local market. But now that's all being changed. And last point, which I mentioned before, is over 80% of our audience is actually non-Asian. And our biggest audiences are Hispanics, African Americans, and of course, Caucasians as well. And I recently had an opportunity to meet some of these folks at our DramaFever fan meetups. That happens in New York City, where is our headquarters. I see you were there. Very cool. As well as we actually had a premiere for Airs in New York City. So if you were in New York and you came to that, you got to see it before anyone else did. So I asked them, what is it about Korean dramas that's really appealing to you, right? And some of the same themes keep coming up. And I'll list some of these. So one is family-friendly plots. It's something that the whole family can enjoy together. It's not as risque or scandalous or very edgy like the content that you might find on TV here. But it's very innocent. It has a lot of family values. And a lot of minorities outside of Asian Americans can really relate to that, where there's a strong emphasis on family. And there's a lot of these themes that come about that anyone can relate to universally, right? They also like that there's a beginning and an ending. I'm a How I Met Your Mother fan. And you guys know that it took them 8 years to reveal the mother. Now, Koreans don't have the patience for that, right? You gotta find out in the next episode, if not in the same episode. And so they like that there's a beginning and an ending. It allows them to see and experience different kinds of storylines, one after the other, right? A lot of Korean dramas have one season with 20 episodes. It's very easy. It's very, I guess some people say formulaic, other people like that it's very consumable sized chunks. Lastly, because of the limited budgets that Korean dramas have had, they rely less on the action and the computer graphics and things like that, and focus more on the strong storyline and the quality of production. So you'll notice that the quality has really risen over the years, and Adam's giving you a number, so I'm gonna push forward. So what are the next trends? One of the things that I see is that there's more power to the fans. And so power in the sense that there's more accessibility, but also because international audiences are gaining more and more presence and there's a bigger number, that these companies are going to start catering to that audience. So DramaFever, we just had our first ever DramaFever Awards last year, where you got to vote on your favorite drama, favorite actors, much more like YouTube music video that just happened. And we hope that in the next couple years that we'll be doing award shows in New York City, where we'll invite the winners to come forward to accept it. There's a red carpet. They'll be able to see that there's an international fan base that they didn't realize before. Original content, that's something that we're going into with airs. We're going to see a lot more of that coming along. Critically acclaimed content, you see that Hollywood, for example, they're much more mature in where they're at with their entertainment. And we hope to see Korean dramas get there, right? A lot of people say it's very trendy. Korean dramas, you can guess what's going to happen next. There's always a sick person. We're hoping that in the future that there's critics that actually review Korean dramas, can recommend, and it could be picked up in presses, can compete with the Mad Men's, the Breaking Bads of the world. And lastly is the broader genres. I think right now you'll see that a lot of international content is all under foreign genre. Now I think that's gonna have to change real soon. Within foreign genre, they're breaking out into anime and Korean drama. But even within Korean drama, there's action, there's romantic comedies, there's melodrama. There's so many things like that. And I think the next step is for Netflix and Hulu and all these other movie guys to start categorizing it under action, under melodrama, under romantic comedy. Because I think that they'll be able to see this as true alternative forms of entertainment and not just some foreign genre. And mass adoption. I think we're starting to see that now. A lot of people are finding us through Hulu and Netflix, and more people are consuming Korean dramas and finding it. But we all need your help, right? We still want to get bigger and bigger. Still very much driven by word of mouth. But we hope that one day it's as big as some of these shows on TV. And so that's where you guys can come in. Next time you watch a Korean drama, bring a friend along, especially if they're a non-Asian. Show them what this content is about and see if they stick around. That's it for my talk. If you have any ideas, I'd love to hear from you. There's my email address. Feel free to chat me up. Any questions or any feedback or any ideas on how we might be able to grow DramaFever further and push along the Hallyu wave, I'd love to hear from you. So thank you.